Of some countries. Take America, for example. It has the bald eagle as its national bird. The French have the Gallic rooster as their unofficial symbol. But what about us? Well, the British public is being invited to choose one to represent the country. Among the contenders, the blackbird, the robin and the barn owl, as John Kay now reports. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6 from Westminster, where the Chancellor has delivered his final budget before the general election. George Osborne called Britain the comeback country, walking tall again after years of economic pain. The Labour leader, Ed Miliband, called it a budget that people won't believe from a government that is not on their side. Among the measures announced this afternoon were tax cuts for workers, with a rise in the personal allowance, and help for savers, with cuts in the tax on interest from savings, and more help for first-time buyers. The Chancellor also announced he was slashing his target for a budget surplus, giving him more money to spend. And he said the public spending squeeze austerity would end a year earlier than forecast. But the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility warned that before that, the public sector would face a much sharper squeeze than in recent years. We'll have all the reaction and analysis. First tonight, our political correspondent Carol Walker reports. Other measures announced by the Chancellor today were plans to scrap end-of-year tax returns, replacing them with digital and online accounts. The Chancellor said there'll be a new flexible ISA so savers can take out their money and put it back in again without losing their tax-free entitlement. Beer duty has been cut for the third year in a row, with another penny off a pint. There was confirmation of a change in the law to give pensioners access to their annuities. The Chancellor announced a rise in the bank levy, which he says will raise an extra £900 million a year. And there was a funding boost for regional growth, extending enterprise and housing zones. Farmers will be allowed to manage their tax payments over longer periods, and there'll be a new tax allowance to encourage investment in the North Sea. So, how will it all be paid for? Our economics correspondent, Andy Verity, has been looking at the numbers. The election less than 2 months away, the parties will be watching their reactions closely. Rita Chakrabarti is in the key marginal constituency of North Warwickshire, where she's been finding out what people thought of today's budget, and she joins. Osborne delivered his final budget before the election. The Chancellor said the government had rescued the economy, but Labour said the coalition had failed working families. Among the measures announced this afternoon were tax cuts for workers and savers, with a rise in the personal allowance and help for home buyers. The Chancellor also slashed his target for a budget surplus, giving him more money to spend. And he said austerity would end a year earlier than previously forecast, though figures from the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility suggest that before that there will be an even tougher squeeze on public spending. While in the Commons, Mr Osborne clashed with the Labour leader, Ed Miliband.